Okay, well, I've had a few people ask me how I do the flaming pumpkin, so I guess I can let my secret go. But don't you dare share this video with anybody else. So first of all, you carve the pumpkin kind of as per usual, with one exception. You leave the mouth up a little bit high so that the bottom of the pumpkin is a bit of a bowl shape because it has to hold liquid. So then, once you take the top off, I create these, I call them a wick. Basically, the pumpkin is a giant candle, and you use kerosene as a fluid, but you need a giant wick. So we go through 2 or 3 pumpkins a night, and each one requires a wick. So I usually take a partial roll of paper towel, whatever's laying around, cut it in half. I like to jam some wood into it just to give it some structure. And then you just set this inside just like it would be a candle. And then you take kerosene, and I usually use a container of some kind. An old tin can is better. That's a bit of a small tin can. A larger one works best. And then for the very first time you light it, you pour the kerosene into the can, and then you just slowly dump the kerosene into the pumpkin on top of the wick so that it all soaks up. And then if the wick soaks up everything, you can take another container and just pour it in around the side so you have a little bit of a fluid layer in the bottom. And then you just take since kerosene's not really volatile like gasoline, it won't explode or go woof when you light it. So you take your lighter and you just light the edge of the wick, and then it'll light and it'll burn down. And then as it heats up, the kerosene gets a bit more vaporous, and then it really starts to flame. And the flames will just shoot out the top, and the air to feed it comes in through the eyes and the nose and the mouth. And then the really cool thing is that after about 10 or 15 minutes, the fuel will get consumed, and the flame will get smaller and smaller, and then pretty soon your pumpkin's not a flaming pumpkin anymore. So the nice thing about kerosene is you can just fill up your can, and while there's still flame inside, you can just dump it in really quick, give the can a bit of a shake, and I usually set the can aside because the vapor will light the can as well, and it'll burn for a couple of minutes. But as soon as you pour the kerosene in while it's still lit, the kerosene will flare up, but I mean, it's not going to burn your eyebrows off or anything like that. You won't need to call the fire department. Everything will be fine. And then you just let her go. And you just keep doing that until your pumpkin gets so cooked that it starts to collapse on itself. Then you take that pumpkin away and you bring out a new one and you start all over. And when your pumpkins are all done, they look something like this. So this is the first pumpkin we did, and they get pretty charred, right? And once they start to collapse like this, then it's time to get a new one. This is the second one we did. It's a little bit bigger, and it did okay, but again, they get pretty beat up on the inside. So we found that the pumpkins will last between 15 and 30 minutes, depending on how hot and how often you refuel them. So if you're going to do it for a few hours in the evening, you need to have a few. So we actually had 6 pumpkins ready to go, and then what we did is we just put candles in all the pumpkins and had them sitting around outside, and then anytime we needed to have a new flaming pumpkin, we just did eeny, meeny, miny, mo and sacrificed one of them. Anyway, that's how it's done. You can try it yourself. Enjoy.